Alright, how are you doing tonight? This is On the Way, Meditation to Ascension. We're going to do a reading, the book called The Tao of Now, Daily Wisdom from Mystics, Sages, Poets, and Saints. Tao of Now, Josh Baran. Introduction. Stop. Now. Whether you know it or not, you are at the end of your search for relief, peace, and meaning in your life. No more seeking, no more wandering, no more waiting. The peace you seek is hiding in plain sight, an open secret. This treasury of insights, a chorus of the present moment, sung by ancient and modern voices that span time, distance, religion, tradition, and culture, is an invitation to become aware of where you are, who you are, as you are, right here, right now. The wisdom contained in this book points the way to life freed from the burdensome stories of your past and the worries and expectations of an imagined future. Stop now and look. It is in front of your nose, in the palm of your hand, in the light in your eyes, in the taste on your tongue. You may have ignored this truth your entire life, but you have never been apart from it, even for a single moment. Nothing is required. No new meditation practices, therapies, ceremonies, or gurus. No path. Everything you need is already here, unfolding in every instant, right here, right now. How this book came to be. I began with a memory. I am 14 years old, along with several close friends. I am attending a concert by the folk music group Peter, Paul, and Mary near the beach in Santa Monica, California. I've been looking forward to this event for months. We have good seats and I love the songs, but for some reason, in the middle of the concert, I become acutely preoccupied with the thoughts in my mind. What had been background chatter suddenly leaps into the foreground of my attention. My thoughts are constant, loud, and random, telling stories about the concert, rehearsing what I will say to friends later, comparing this event to previous concerts, and on and on. I feel as if I am trapped on a carnival ride, spinning out of control. I also notice a sense of separation from the world, as if imprisoned inside a glass box. This is a seminal moment in my life. From this point on, I will become intensely and increasingly aware of this non-stop mental turmoil. And it is a desire for relief from this inner chaos that initiates my quest. I began my search alone, digging into philosophy, religion, and psychology books. At one point, I found myself drawn to Asian mysticism. When I discovered the Buddha's description of samsara, the human state of confusion and suffering, I felt that he was directly addressing me. What a relief to learn that I was not alone after all. And what a thrill to discover that there is a way to wake up, to realize Nirvana, a state of peace accessible to anyone. A deep yearning for the truth took over my life. I began to devour tales of Zen monks, Tibetan yogis, and Indian sages. I longed for first-hand realization. I was one throbbing question mark. Who or what am I? What is this? This reality, this feeling of me, this life and death, this moment. There seems something enormously significant hidden, urging me to find it. By age 19, I was a full-time seeker. It was the late 1960s. A spiritual renaissance was unfolding in the West. Ancient wisdom filled the air, antithetical to the current American culture, the Vietnam War, materialism, and Richard Nixon. Swamis, Sufi masters, whirling dervishes, and Buddhist sages found audiences in North America and Europe. I attended every spiritual workshop I could find and scoured bookstore shelves, hunting for the latest works on mysticism. After months of bouncing between traditions and teachers, I decided that the only way to get to the heart of the matter was to choose one path and devote myself to it. My choice was Zen Buddhism. Zen seemed the quickest and most direct way to understanding, even though I had heard that Zen monasteries were legendary boot camps where masters would push their students to the breaking point. I joined a newly established community in California, composed entirely of fellow Westerners. I shaved my head, donned black monastic robes, and entered into this unknown world of meditation and discipline. For the next 8 years, I would live as a Zen monk and priest. There is an old Zen saying, with the ideal comes the actual. My Zen experience was complex, enlightening in many ways and endarkening in others. The demanding routine and meditation practice enabled me to become more focused and mindful in my daily activities. I began to notice the way my mind created confusion and clinging. Soon I had glimpses of the peace that I had read about. But as the years passed, my eyes opened to the shadow side of the Zen community. As my fellow monks and I drove ourselves in the name of devotion, we began to repress personal feelings. Questioning was not merely discouraged, but strictly forbidden. Total obedience to the teacher eclipsed every other consideration. I found myself ignoring my feelings and denying my doubts. At first I blamed myself for these negative feelings, attributed them to my own shortcomings. If only I meditated harder and surrendered more fully, and everything would be perfect. But I soon came to realize that the problem lay not in me, but with the harsh and unkind culture of the monastery. It took me the better part of a year, but I finally mustered the courage to walk out the door. I later learned that my experience was not at all unusual. By the early 1980s, hundreds of spiritual groups started to unravel under the weight of their authoritarian cultures. Yet even after my departure, the internal questioning that had brought me to Zen in the first place was still inside me, burning more urgently than ever. For the next 15 years, I steered clear of spiritual organizations, continuing my exploration on my own. Sometimes enlightenment seemed further away, other times a bit closer, yet always out of reach. No matter how many hours I meditated, distracting thoughts persisted. At times I had powerful experiences, including intense states of bliss. I would then try to hold on to them, only to see them change or fade away. Was I really advancing on the path? Was I getting any closer? After 2 decades of meditating and searching, I still felt like that 14-year-old at the Peter, Paul, and Mary concert. After so much time meditating on my own, I still felt confused and wanted some help. During this period of my life, friends had periodically urged me to journey to Nepal to receive Dogen teachings from a revered master, Tokyu Urgyen. Dogen, a tradition of Tibetan Buddhism emphasizes direct personal experience. For centuries, these teachings were zealously kept secret and only given to accomplished students who had completed decades of meditation practice. Fortunately, Toku Urjin's approach was different. He was not only believed in sharing knowledge with Westerners, he did so at the beginning of instruction. One day I found myself journeying halfway around the world to Nepal. I made my way to Toku Urjin's temple, perched high above the Kathmandu Valley, where I joined a small group of other Western students. Each morning we sat with Toku Urjin in his small room, where he imparted traditional Dogen teachings, pointing out the true nature of the mind. So powerfully and directly did Toku Urjin communicate this timeless and immediate reality that I found myself instantly stopped cold. There were no fireworks, no thunder, just a sudden, obvious, stunning realization of the pure awareness that I had overlooked my entire life, not hidden or elsewhere. In the face of this presence, or nowness, all seeking, wandering, and waiting vanished before my eyes. I saw how much of my life's energies had been focused on looking forward to some imagined future, rather than simply celebrating the all-pervasive present, trying to get there instead of being here. My previous years of forced meditation and effort seemed, in retrospect, useless. All I needed was to take to heart Token Urjin's words. Simply let be in naturalness, without technique, without artifice. Mystics have shared the same insight for thousands of years. In the words of Zen Master Hakuin, at this point, is there anything lacking? Nirvana is right here, now, before our eyes. This place is the Lotus Land. This body now is the Buddha. The second line is also translated. Nirvana is immediate, not hidden, distant, or in the future, but right now, before your face, this body, this place. When I returned to America, I found that I could no longer stomach many of the spiritual books in my apartment. They seemed filled with unquestioned assumptions that glorified seeking, wishful thinking, and magical experiences. Many authors gave lip service to the concept of living in the present moment, but then proceeded to promote more fruitless seeking. Before Nepal, I had bought into the New Age cliché that all paths lead to the top of the mountain. Now I saw that these paths often served to create more layers of illusion. I hungered for words that were alive with realization, and that reflected the timeless view that Toku Urjin had pointed out. Slowly I began to gather quotations and writings that hit the nail on the head. My collection began with teachings from the Zen, Tibetan, Buddhist traditions, and soon expanded to include wisdom from Indian masters, Christian mystics, Sufi poets, Jewish rabbis, and Western sages. Each selection embodied an outlook often referred to as non-duality, which is not exclusive to any single religious tradition, and which transcends any doctrine or system. Non-duality reflects the understanding of the unity of all things: self, other, nirvana, samsara, form, emptiness, body, mind, past, future. All are actually the same essence, having one taste. When the Buddha says, "This is the all," when Meister Eckhart writes, "Everything tastes like God," and when Ramana Maharishi teaches, "There is only the self," these words all express the same realization. As I gathered these teachings, I began to include pieces from poets, songwriters, artists, screenwriters, and scientists. I came across inspired accounts from ordinary people who experienced this truth in their everyday lives. Many were not particularly spiritual or religious. Many were seekers, but suddenly For no apparent reason, they saw clearly and directly for an instant. After years of gathering these nuggets, I strung them together and now joyfully offer them to you. Alright. Now we got Tao of Now. The Tao of Now. Daily wisdom from mystics, sages, poets, and saints. All about this book. The insights that follow span thousands of years, and yet all express the same timeless present. While each selection stands alone, together they create a remarkable and colorful chorus. This book contains many pieces and insights from traditional religious or spiritual sources, as well as many from very unusual characters who may not have been religious at all. I have been particularly fascinated by mavericks who occasionally and unexpectedly arise outside of any tradition or box, including Tony Parson, Stephen Harrison, Scott Morrison, or Byron Katie recently. Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor captivated the audience of the TED conference in California by relating a riveting account of a profound awakening that took place during a severe stroke. As her body began to fall, she simultaneously experienced a spontaneous sense of awareness, nowness, peace. Opinions vary widely as to who is realized, authentic, or mystically correct. Please do not regard this book as a who's who of enlightenment. I have included these passages solely because they strike home for me. Some stop me dead in my tracks. Others bring tears or goosebumps. The material is organized in a manner that encourages spontaneous exploration. Jump in and anywhere and just read a page or two. The selections come from a wide variety of sources, ranging from the highly traditional to the widely iconoclastic. As such, it is only natural to experience differences and contradictions, and these reflect the immense paradox of addressing the reality that is entirely beyond words, concepts, thoughts, and time. Time is particularly apparent with regard to such issues as effort, meditation, and spiritual practices. For example, the debate over effort, doing versus not doing, as means to realization, has been going on for thousands of years. On the one hand, many traditional sages teach that the natural and effortless state of awareness can only be realized after decades of effort. This approach requires serious training, meditation, and practice. At the other end of the spectrum, sages such as Krishnamurti and Punjabi regard any intentional effort to wake up or quiet the mind as counterproductive, an expression of the I locked in the illusions of goals, progress, and achievements. It is my observation that many people are beginning to see spiritually in a more integrated way, focusing on relaxed effort with the present moment, without trying to achieve anything or make something happen. It is an open, welcoming, and honest inquiry into thoughts, feelings, and experiences, without avoidance or any attempt to fix or alter them. This gentle awareness encompasses every moment of life and illuminates what is true and what is false. The only spiritual practice required is to merely recognize this natural state now and now and now. As you go through these passages, you will notice many diverse views. If you read the selection, try setting aside any beliefs you may hold. Let each insight speak for itself. Notice every time your mind says, yes, but. Are you thinking that realization is only for saints and very special people, but not for you? Do you feel that you cannot possibly understand right now, but only at some point in the distant future, or many lifetimes from now? I call these not me, not now thoughts. When such notions arise in your mind chatter, question them. Try asking yourself, who would I be without these thoughts? Notice what happens when you believe these thoughts. The pages ahead contain many examples of self-inquiry, a special kind of questioning that differs radically from the normal question and answer process. Typically, when asked a question, your answer is based on past experience, what you already know or believe. In contrast, self-inquiry is an expression of beginner's mind, which has no past and is fresh and open in this moment. The Zen tradition is legendary for this, particularly in the use of questions, dialogues, and paradoxical stories called koans, such as, what is the sound of one hand? Ramana Maharshi suggested asking yourself the question, who am I? And Byron Katie has created an in-depth inquiry process that begins with the question, is it true? The insights contained in these pages may help dispel beliefs that keep you from realizing that what you seek is already here. You are the Buddha, now, not later. Not after anything, not after some special experience. Peace is completely now. Contentment is now. Joy is now. The end of your suffering is now. What are you waiting for? You can seek this immediately or postpone it for 30 years. Why wait for some future now? Stop, look, and listen now. The Tao is now. To spiritual practitioners who have been on the path for a long time, I hope that this book can serve as a reminder that they may be sleepwalking. I know about sleepwalking from first-hand experience. I have seen how any spiritual discipline can become a rambling routine, postponing the joy and freshness that is always available right here and now. A seasoned meditator recently said to me, on my deathbed, I hope to have some experience of enlightenment. Decades of meditation had not made awakening any more real for her. It was still an imaginary future dream. Since the truth of right here now is available to everyone everywhere, you may ask if there is any value in traveling to Asia, becoming a meditation student, or finding a master. Teachers and mentors often play a transformative role in our lives. They certainly have in my life. In wise hands, spiritual practices can be beneficial. Belonging to a spiritual group or network can provide a sense of support and community. On the other hand, any teaching or practice, no matter how profound or ancient, can remain merely conceptual or descend into dogmatic religion or blind devotion. Communities can become cults. As for enlightened masters, there is no shortage of holy hucksters. While it is not my role to direct you, a word to the wise, and you are wise whether you consciously realize it or not. You are the sole supreme authority over your life. This is the only life you know right now. Waking up is about your individual and personal undoing of the long-held assumption that prevent you from seeing what you really are. Whether you are sitting in a cave in Tibet or standing at a bus stop in Hoboken, you can actualize this clear seeing at any moment, right here and now. Recognize what is right in front of you. Wherever you go or whatever you do, bear in mind that home is where you always are, where you start and where you end. Peace is found on this breath. Words can never describe the true nature of how things are. They can only point. As you read these insights, try not getting trapped in the phrases and concepts, no matter how mind-blowing or poetic they may seem. Instead, stop and look. See where those words point, and then drop them completely. This is all about seeing and has nothing to do with beliefs. What the Buddha, mystics, or Zen masters realize has nothing to do with your own understanding. In the end, what others say is all just story and hearsay. As Rumi wrote, don't listen to what I say, as though these words came from an inside and went to an outside. My words are fire. May the words in this book whisper to you with the intimacy of a lover. When Joshua asks, "Who are you?" ask yourself this question as if for the first time. When Perpetual asks, "Do you hear the dogs barking?" listen carefully. And when Woody Guthrie sings, "This great eternal moment is my great eternal dawn," watch the sunrise with your own eyes. Alright. In this moment. Before you dive into this book, I invite you to stop for a moment and guide your attention to your experience right now. Do this as if you are a newborn child, noticing everything for the first time. Bring your attention to your breath as it moves in and out of your chest and nostrils. Hear the sounds around you, whether they may be cars honking, dogs barking, the wind in the trees. Notice your eyes as they move back and forth across this page. Feel the weight of this book in your hands, the sensation in your back against the chair, your feet on the ground, and your clothes against your skin. As you read these words, you may be slightly saying them to yourself. At the same time, thoughts may appear, streams of words, images, bits of conversation. Be aware of these as they come and go, appear and disappear, one leading to the next. All of this is being experienced specifically by someone, you. Who is this you? Take a moment to explore this. Who is reading these words right now? Who is seeing and hearing these questions? Might seem odd or absurd, and the answer obvious. Me. I am reading these words, of course. I am sitting in this chair. So is this I that is reading and hearing right now. You might answer with your name, age, race, physical description, and so on. You might define your I by speaking about your past, where you were born, or your resume or credentials. But exactly who or what is this I that occupies the center of every instant in your life? In that ways is this I special and unique? In what ways is this I special and unique? Distinct from all the other I's in the world. What do you really know about this I? You may be so immersed in the automatic, habitual, and non-stop stream of I thoughts that you are mostly unaware of them. You may have never even considered what this ongoing drama really is. Notice that this I is a non-stop storyteller, spinning tales of the past, the present, and the future, constantly editing, interpreting, and directing this inner movie. Take a few quiet moments. Begin to notice how the I shows up. I am, I feel, I want, I need, I should. I observe each thought as it arises, Now ask yourself, who is thinking these thoughts? Is there somebody thinking them? Do not look to past experiences, assumptions, or anything you have ever read or heard. Rely only on your direct experience in this moment. Who is thinking these thoughts? Who is reading these words right now? Now, notice the awareness of self that is inquiring into this. I. What is this? Where is it located? Where does it come from? Look closely. This awareness, knowing, is not the I itself. The awareness is not thoughts. It is not a state or place, an object or concept. This knowing is clear and transparent. It contains and permeates everything. The sense of being is always present, unchanging, and does not come or go. This presence, aliveness, is intimately here, and wholly now with past or future, beyond all concepts and opposites. No need to close your eyes, meditate, go into some altered or higher consciousness, or even try to see this. Just remain relaxed and attentive. Simply observe this isness. It has many names: the Tao, Nirvana, no self, Buddha nature, the now, original mind, enlightenment, the unborn. The Tao of Now celebrates this natural, awakened state, wide open and available in every moment. This book celebrates what you are now. That's the moment. About the commentary. At the end of some of the selections in this book, I have written some brief personal comments or reflections. These remarks are intended to direct your attention to the present moment. Poetic inspiration is fine, but my hope is that this book will be a daily useful tool that directly points out what is true right now. I encourage you to engage in your own dialogue with these living insights. Tao of Now, Daily Wisdom. Tao of Now, Daily Wisdom. Josh Baran. Alright, let's read some of these here. This moment, now. All you who seek the way, please do not waste this moment now. That's a Zen teaching. This is the time. This is the place. This is the vastness. Right here is paradise. Always. Always. That's Byron Katie. At this moment, is there anything lacking? Nirvana is right here now before our eyes. This place is the lotus land. This body now is the Buddha. That's a Kuan. Hold up your hands before your eyes. You are looking at the hands of God. Rabbi Lawrence Krishna. What we are looking for is what is looking. St. Francis. The lost necklace. No special effort is necessary to realize the self. All efforts are for eliminating the present obscuration of the truth. A lady is wearing a necklace around her neck. She forgets it, imagines it to be lost, and impulsively looks for it here, there, and everywhere. Not finding it, she asks her friends if they have found it anywhere, till one kind friend points to her neck and tells her to feel the necklace around her neck. The seeker does so and feels happy that the necklace is found. Again, when she meets other friends, they ask her if her lost necklace was found. She says yes to them, as if it were lost and later recovered. Her happiness at rediscovering it round her neck is the same as if some property was recovered. In fact, she never lost it nor recovered it, and yet she was once miserable and now she is happy. So also with the realization of the self. Ramana Harashi. Awakening is not a faraway secret. The peace you seek right here now, or a guru or a Buddha cannot give it to you. Just see clearly in this moment. As you read these pages, keep this in mind. Who are you? A monk asked, "What is Buddha?" The master said, "Who are you?" In the present moment, we have no interest in past sages or future promises. If you want to know what the Buddha is, look into your own mind. Who are you now? Original face contemplation. Sitting quietly, feel what sits there. Explore this body you sit in. Observe the scintillating field of sensation we call the body. Notice sensation's wordless quality, its sense of simply being humming throughout the body. Go within sensation to that subtle presence by which the sensation is known. Feel the sensation within sensation. Settle into that sense of being, of aliveness vibrating in each cell. Rest in being. Just sit quietly and know. Let awareness sink into itself. Know what knows. Experience directly that sense by which you imagine you exist. Enter it wholeheartedly. Sit in the center of that hum. Does it have a beginning? Does it have an ending? Or is there just a sense of endless being, unborn and undying? Don't ask the mind, which always limits itself with definitions. Ask the heart, which cannot name it, but always is it. Resting in being. Let sitting meditation be simple. Don't try to be spiritual or accomplished. Just sit without a goal or any special strategy. Thoughts come and go like clouds in a silent sky. And I was time. There is a classic Zen koan that asks you to describe your own original face, the one you had before you were born. I've never come as close to being able to answer that question as I did the year my mother died. She had cancer and became bedridden for a very short time. During the last 3 or 4 days of her life, she began to change outwardly a great deal. She lost weight rapidly and her skin began to tighten and become less wrinkled. She, in fact, began to appear transformed into someone very relaxed and quite young. She began to closely resemble the old photos of her that I had seen, pictures taken when she was back in her early 20s. She was like a young woman who had dyed her hair gray, as if on a whim, a restless echo of happier times. When I looked at her, I felt swallowed up in some kind of enormous gift. It was as if I had been given the opportunity of seeing my mother as she was before I was born. Time seemed to stand still, and time became exceptionally real for me, only because it ceased to exist. The woman before me was time, and I was time, and the room was time. Gary Thorpe. You are the truth from foot to brow. Now what else would you like to know? Rumi tells you are the truth. Where and when we are. The real enemies of our life are the oughts and the ifs. They pull us backward into the unalterable past and forward into the unpredictable future. For real life takes place in the here and the now. God is a God of the present. God is always in the moment. Be that moment hard or easy, joyful or painful. When Jesus spoke about God, he always spoke about God as being where and when we are. When you see me, you see God. When you hear me, you hear God. God is not someone who was or will be, but the one who is, and who is for me in the present moment. That's why Jesus came to swipe away the burden of the past and the worries for the future. He wants us to discover God right where we are, here and now. Henry J. M. Nguyen. This is more simple than philosophy or religion. It is about not looking anywhere else but here. Stop pretending. The great teachings unanimously emphasize that all the peace, wisdom, and joy in the universe are already within us. We don't have to gain, develop, or attain them. Like a child standing in a beautiful park with his eyes shut tight. There's no need to imagine trees, flowers, deers, birds, and sky. We merely need to open our eyes and realize what is already here, who we already are, as soon as we stop pretending we're small or unholy. I could characterize nearly any spiritual practice as simply being identify and stop, identify and stop, identify and stop. Identify the myriad forms of limitation and delusion we place upon ourselves, and muster the courage to stop each one. Little by little, deep inside us, the diamond shines, the eyes open, the dawn rises, we become what we really are. Tat Twam Asi, thou art that. Bo Lozov. Without the thought that you are insignificant or unenlightened, who are you? Now is the best time to stop pretending. Putting on socks. When you live with this awareness, there's no fretting about making this or that happen or go away. Take, for example, sitting up in bed in the morning, putting on socks and applying the same awareness to putting on socks as you give to following your breath on your meditation cushion. There's just your arm moving, the feel of the sock pulling up over your foot, the arc of your neck as you bend over, thinking of nothing at all, putting every bit of yourself into simply pulling on that sock. Suddenly the world opens up. There's an enormous rush of joy for no reason at all. Everything outside you and inside you is swallowed up by that sock going over your toes. It all happens so fast. You can't even say how long the moment lasts. There's not even any sense of you pulling on the sock. It could just as easily be the sock pulling you on. You and your sock and your foot and your elbow and your neck have somehow all vanished into the act itself. It's not that you physically disappear or go into some altered state. It's just that you dropped into the pure joy of closing the gap between yourself and the moment of pulling on your sock. Manfred B. Steger and Pearl Besserman. Where is the gap between yourself and the world? It closes in an instant. Did it ever exist? Put on your socks, see for yourself. Opening from heart. Right now, and in every now moment, you are either closing or opening. You're either stressfully waiting for something, more money, security, affection, or you are living from your deep heart, opening as the entire moment, and giving what you most deeply desire to give without waiting. If you are waiting for anything in order to live and love without holding back, then you suffer. Every moment is the most important moment of your life. No future time is better than now to let down your guard in love. Everything you do right now ripples outward and affects everyone. Your posture can shine your heart or transmit anxiety. Your breath can radiate love or muddy the room in depression. Your glance can awaken joy. Your words can inspire freedom. Your every act can open hearts and minds. Opening from heart to all, you live as a gift to all. In every moment, you are either opening or closing. Right now, you are choosing to open and give fully, or you are waiting. How does your choice feel? How does it feel when you turn away from a stranger, a neighbor, a coworker, or your thoughts and feelings? When you do this, notice how you reject Nirvana showing up right now. Enter the fire. The only way to achieve maximum openness is to arrive at every moment without a single preconception. Otherwise, we resist what doesn't fit our model. Regardless of how much we know or how evolved we become, we must put every bit of that aside. We must step into the mystery naked and undefended. When we truly hate what's happening, our instinct is to flee from it like a house on fire. But if we can learn to turn around and enter that fire, let it burn all our resistance away, and we find ourselves arising from the ashes with a new sense of power and freedom. Sometimes without any answers to hold on to, it seems like we're nothing at all. Other times, overwhelmed by life's roaring torrent, it seems like we're everything at once. These two impressions are actually flip sides of the same coin. They're a taste of what happens when the barriers of our personality become porous. We encounter life directly, without anything to mediate its intensity. We see clearly, in those moments, how the self we carry with us is no more or less than a tool of our organism, a system that allows us to function, but that also, miraculously, We have the ability to step right through. Alright, I think I'm going to take a break. Be back. This is the Tao of Now, Daily Wisdom from Mystic Sages, Poets, and Saints by Josh Baran. We are on live with On the Way, Meditation to Ascension.